Get feedback.
Alright, boss. You know. Let's get them together first. Come on then, people. Come on then, souls. That's better. Come on, settle down. Seth, stop talking. Take your seat. Let's carry on. Ding, 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 ding. Thanks, mate. I'm sure I nearly brought you big bell.
Who's taking some books without paying? Who's taking a book without paying for the book?
Yeah,
Now, show of hands, please. There's some books missing. There's about 5 books missing.
5 books? Joking.
Yeah, who's taking a Sovereign handbook? There's only 1 left in the box. They're not free. Yeah, you paid me. So if you've taken one of these, okay, if you've taken one of these, they're 20 quid. So if you take, there's about 5 gone.
That's £100.
Yeah.
So come on, people, who's up the book?
Who's taking a book?
I think we're all in now. Are we all in?
I mean, come on, this is
There's a question. There's a question time.
Yeah, I'm just going to
Use that mic,
Yeah.
and then they'll take that mic around,
Yeah.
and then you know
That's
what I mean?
it, yeah. Professional sound. All right, yeah, man.
What, so you're going to take the mic around, yeah?
Yeah, he's got that mic.
Excellent.
Over there.
Come on, that's 5 books.
Yeah.
That's 5
All right,
books.
question Q&A time.
That's the last one, yeah, you can have it. 20 quid. But yeah, if you've had a book and you haven't paid, please see me. See me privately if you want.
Yeah, say it after the left then.
Q&A time. Q&A time.
Yeah. Check one, mic check. Zim up. We've all got the Sovereign books. Bit of improv. Okay, before we go to question and answers, 2 more things to go through quickly. Person. When we speak of person, it's not an English word, it's not an American word. It comes from the Latin. There's a Latin book there, you can research it for yourself. Persona, the personification. The persona that Lorraine Kelly has when she's on TV presenting as Lorraine, and the argumentation that she allegedly gave when she was questioned for the tax returns. She has a personality. I mentioned at the beginning, you have a legal personality, a person, a persona, it's a mask, and it's what you can choose to put on or not wear. So that's key and integral to where we're at and how we're at amongst everything else that I've given you. I forgot the drink again. And then, does anybody know of the conditional acceptance?
Is this your drink?
Excellent. The conditional acceptance, thank you very much, God bless you. The clean hands doctrine, they could find no fault with Jesus, but they crucified him anyway. Crucifixion, cross, say, of fiction, cross of fiction. So the crucifixion may or may not have happened. It was an event recorded in history, and we take it, as we find it. So person, persona, Latin, mask. Get yourself a Latin dictionary or go online, but it's better to get the physical copy, then you know you're getting it from the root source. And the conditional acceptance, when a claim is made on your person, you can choose to accept the claim with the liabilities attached to it, and you can choose to deny the claim and create further controversy surrounding the claim that has been made. Or there is a third option, which keeps you with clean hands and in honour, conforming to the civil procedure rules and the practice directions. So the argumentation that I've got for you today is... They've gone past. The argumentation I've got for you today is, those of you that don't know, to keep clean hands and be in honour, we look at the teachings again from Halsbury's laws, from Bouvier's, from Blackstone's, from a lot of treatises of law, commentaries of law, establish facts at law within the social system that we have, the legal system. And a conditional equity. At the heart of equity lies the doctrine of notices. We need to cover that bit as well. That's interesting. And the notice of the statement of intent, the notice of interest, or notice of interest, statement of intent, the processes that go through there. If the claimant has sent you a correspondence and you notice that it's come through domestic mail, then you may not have got that correspondence. So we look at proof of service, clean hands, staying in honour. People need to communicate legally in accordance with the practice. I think it's section 6 of the civil procedure rules, and it's got the proof of service, proof of receipt, proof of, can you prove in a court of law that you communicated with me and that I've ignored you and that I'm in a position of fault or default, which means I've got unclean hands, which means that I've submitted my rights because I'm in dishonour. So the clean hands doctrine comes from equity. To demonstrate equity in the Bible, as I said, allegory, superstition, supposition, and plausible deniability. It might be in John, it might not, but I'm sure it's in John. Jesus comes across a lady, and she's being judged by a load of men of the common law of the land. They've deemed her guilty, and they want to stone her to death. So, yeah, all right, the laws of the land, the common law says, you've done wrong. By the law of this land, we're going to distribute the punishment, and that is, according to the laws of the land, the common law, you are going to be stoned to death. And it was written that Jesus comes along, I'm paraphrasing, but he arrives and he says, what's going on here? And the gentlemen say, we're dealing with this lady, X, Y, and Z, she's going to be punished. And at the bottom of the chapter and verses, it says that Jesus says, let he without sin cast the first stone. So unclean hands, if you're guilty of sin yourself, how can you be put somewhere above another to judge them? So there's an example in the Bible of Jesus, the fictional character there, as I think he may well be, the mystic. The teachings are relevant and real though. Equity demonstrated within the Bible. That's not the only area. There's other areas in Matthew where the taxman turns up and wants tax, and Jesus says to his apostle, he will pay, and the fish appears in the sea, as it is written there, and fish comes out with a gold coin in its mouth, and the apostle takes it, pays the taxman. So there's evidence of trust relationships, furthermore, to Genesis, where the Creator, Father, leaves Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Crack on, get on with it, don't touch that tree, I'll be back in a bit. So they're entrusted. I know I have a way of saying things, but I need to keep it relevant, lively, and I want you to giggle and laugh and have fun with it as well. But he comes back, and remember, it's written that he's all-knowing, all everywhere, omniscient, I've struggled. Yeah, all of that. He comes back, thank you. He comes back and says, what's gone on here then? What are you wearing a fig for? You know, well, if you're all-knowing and everywhere's a contradiction in the Bible, we find these areas of which is confusing to us because it's written X, Y, and Z, but then when it's given to us, you know what, it appears it's not everywhere, and he doesn't know everything because he's come back and said, what are you wearing a fig leaf for? What's happened here?
Because they had to own it, that's why.
Because what, sorry?
Because Adam and Eve had to own it, they had to own what they did.
Yeah, they had to. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I'm not here to argue. I'm just here to give you areas of trust and evidences of in the teachings of. So, yeah, good point, valid. And we need to look at, you need to make a note of the conditional acceptance. Not everybody agrees with it, but in line with the practice directions, if you've gone through your paperwork and you've had a claim, a charge levied against your person and you want to clear up the controversies and remain in honour with clean hands, then this goes into the doctrines, the doctrine of notice, and clean hands doctrine as well, and it goes in with the practice directions and the civil procedure rules. So there are rules and processes and protocols that need to be followed, and there are proofs along with that. So when you send a communication of a legal nature or even lawful to anybody, you are required to be able to, in a court of law, prove that you have clean hands and are in honour. So that's why we send notices and communications, we send them with proof of service, proof second class signed for is more than adequate. Then the post office becomes your notary witness, if you like, to the fact that you have communicated and you've got the relevant post office, because post office is the entry point, but Royal Mail would be the carrier, two different companies and responsibilities. And if you can't prove in a court of law, or if your claimant who claims to have done X, Y, and Z, and now they're at the door and they're looking to repossess something, you can't repossess anything which you never previously owned. That's another little bone of contention of ours. You can't possess something that you haven't owned. So it's for holding them to account. Are you all right there, please?
Yeah.
Just have a
When
moment.
you said that.
I just saw. I thought, have I done something wrong? Oh no.
I thought that. It's like,
Yeah, I just want to check. Whether,
No, I love it. I love listening to you because you say something and then bing.
This is what we're here for. This is it. I want to work, us to work together.
You possess it.
You never had it in the first place. So there you go again. So we have the collection.
I love it.
A warrant for, thank you, I'm honoured, and a collection, a warrant for taking control of goods. Well, goods are for market, goods are for commercial area. You know, this is key and integral for you to grasp. Goods, no, I have possessions, I have belongings, and if you've got a last will and testament or various private trusts alongside a living trust, an irrevocable last will and testament, you can have a look into living trusts. We have all this information available for you, and I'll provide it again to the arrangers, organisers and owners of the Sovereign Project. So for YouTube, you'd search Indiglo. If you need any contacts from me or anything other than what we've given out, please let me know. If you're on Telegram, just put in, as someone's just done here today, SPLS and search, and you'll find SPLS Pro group on Telegram. We've got the private Telegram group for our website members, because I am all about keeping things private now, especially as there's been some plagiarising of works, and it's hard, it's a fine line to tread when you give out information that's of a monetary value. You know, there's people out there that are unconscionable that might take this information and use it for criminal gains, or we have to try and guard our areas and, you know, try to work together and make sure we're all on the same page and we've got the same intent, and that we're conscionable, because there are people out there that would like to pretend they're like us that aren't, and come in to take advantage and steal works or get ideas and then monetize that later down the line, but without actually not having the knowledge, ability, the backing of that. So as long as you have got as grasped that, the clean hands, honour, conditional acceptance, the reasons for that. When you conditionally accept something, it's a bit like going into equity estoppel, where neither party can move forward, because if you conditionally accept it, and after the conditional acceptance, sometimes it's necessary for us to put the account into serious dispute under the Office of Fair Trading, FCA and OFT, so the Financial Conduct Authority and the Office of Fair Trading. But as one of my YouTube scribes pointed out to me, David, the Office of Fair Trading ceased to exist in 2014. So what you've told me is bollocks. I went, no, wait, hold up, not necessarily. Things change over time. Let me have a look. Had a chat with our Kevin, and we worked out that the Office of Fair Trading now comes under the remit of the Financial Conduct Authority. So even though the office itself is gone, the backing of that levels of law are covered by the FCA. And then when you've done that conditional acceptance and placing the account into serious dispute pending what you require from them to prove their claim, that conditional acceptance and account into serious dispute under FCA, and see, when you're dyslexic and your mind is like full of three-letter bloody, it's hard, but yeah, the OFC and FCA, that will stop all fines, fees, levies and forfeitures being applied until there has been resolution to that dispute. So going back to when I said the Lord Wolf's reforms for the alternative dispute resolution should be done before any litigation. You're going through what's known as mitigation, to be fair, stopping everything. People have argued before with me that ignoring it, Dave, works. Well, okay then, but then when you've ignored everything, the system, the house is designed to win 9 times out of 10. and so therefore you've ignored it. That's your wish, that's very good if you want to go down that route, but it's futile because the pre-action protocols are ticking by and ignorance is no defence, ignorance of the law, etc. After that time has elapsed, then that account gets passed to a collection, and a collection third party comes to you, and then you get a knock on the door and there's a clamp on your van, or there's some heavy mob at the door, and things quickly spiral out of control. But if you're a lord of the manor, or you're privy enough to have wealth, and you've got an estate, and you've got a gate and security cameras and dogs and a driveway, and it's all locked off, then perhaps ignorance is a bliss because no one's getting into your yard. But most of us live on terraced houses on the street, and we haven't got that protection there at all. So that's just a few from what I didn't say earlier. Before we go to questions and answers, these are the articulations and the what were the deeds that we execute and the reasons for that. All right. So questions and answers.
Let's see if this might work. Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay. Get your hands up. Come on. Yeah, then get going for it.
Right, let's go on. Nice one. See ya. Come on, don't be shy. There's no question too small.
Yeah. Oh, we'll yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Hi, I'm Marie. Obviously, we spoke earlier. I've been in the battle with social services and the family courts for 2 years. I've just got rid of social services. Woo-hoo! And what it is, I'm trying to find the way of how I'm going to get compensation for how I've been treated. I.e., they try to endanger my daughters by threatening to remove them and placing them with an alcoholic father. Although they hadn't bothered to investigate whether he was an alcoholic or not, they sided with him because he was compliant and I wasn't. So yeah, I suppose the question I'm asking is, what's the best way for me to get some damages?
Well, thank you for the question, Anne-Marie, and it's nice to meet you. There are rules with family courts and the fees, as we discussed earlier. You would need to put that question to the courts themselves, to the judge, to the court staff, to the clerk, somebody like that, and get an answer, or do some searching as well. What I find difficult with family law is that as it involves our property, our assets, our young bloods, children, then there's not a lot in the public domain because it's kept private to protect the children. So it's an extremely difficult, one of the areas other than equity and trust and the study and examination of the Bible is the law with regards to family and children is extremely private and hidden, not hidden away, but just kept in the private. So I haven't done that, and I don't know anybody that has, but there might be provisions there for what you need.
Well, I actually think the family court isn't there just to protect the children, I think it's to protect them as well, because I've had some experiences. I was actually locked in the courtroom, they locked me in the building, wouldn't allow me to have anyone in to support me. I was locked in with security guards because they knew that I was a bit out of control. I'm not going to lie. So obviously in their jurisdiction I've been falsely imprisoned, so...
Detained against your will. Yeah, as well.
I walked in, for my hearing. The door. Then the people I was with, they were told they couldn't come in. They bolted and keyed, they locked the door. Then I had 2 6-foot whatever security guards next to me who wouldn't leave me alone. I was escorted to the other door. That was locked as well with a guard on it, so I couldn't leave there. And that's because they were attempting to remove my daughters for literally no reason. Other than I wouldn't agree to contracts with the children's services. And so that was classed as emotional harm.
I politely and respectfully and politely decline your offer. There are always offers what we get. The language is, no, I'm just saying for the benefit of the room.
Sorry.
Anne-Marie, we politely and respectfully decline the offer here today. And then if they say it's the law, everybody does it X, Y and Z, well, I'd like you to show me that, please. Where is it, am I obliged, is a good one. You know, is and may I ask you, when you say family court, was it a room somewhere that wasn't a court, that was more like an administrative hearing, a business
Well, it
venue?
wasn't an administrative hearing, I said that actually.
So
I said, what is this administrative hearing for? And then they were like, this is not an administrative hearing, this is a court, you know, that kind of thing. And like when you've got like you know, the barrister, the principal solicitor, you know, on your own, you know what I mean? Quite daunting. But I mean, ultimately, I've won. But there's a lot of harm that my children experience, such as I had over 50 visits from social services randomly. They sent the police round, humiliating us in front of neighbours, and you know, and my children lost friends. It caused psychological issues with my girls, where now even when someone knocks the front door, they're scared because I was threatened, you know, at the front door by social services. So I just feel that the girls should be, you know, compensated in some way for the harm that they've kind of endured. Forget me, it's them. Yeah.
So we can, for the benefit of the room and for yourself, if you haven't done this already, let me think.
Sorry, I know it's a lot.
No, it's all fine. Let me think of the words. So the removal of implied rights of access is something you need to look at. We have.
I did that as well.
Well done. Kudos.
And I sent them a fee schedule, so they're aware that I charge £275, you know, per hour and all of that. But I just need to get it all together now to do my counter attack to get something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, maybe in the form of a private prosecution against the people that have, you know, you would maybe look to effect legal claims in a private manner to prosecute those that have trespassed upon your rights. Ignorant rights are classified as property at law. Ignorance of rights is abuse of property, and abuse of property could be construed at law as a form of terrorism. Just simply saying your rights are not gift from government, not direct to Anne-Marie, but to you all. So I have notified and have a sign on my property what says, it reads, all visitors are seen strictly by prior appointment only. So therefore anybody, TV licensed man, whoever it is, canvassers of any sort, arrive at your door unexpected and unannounced. It's not necessarily a convenient time to be opening your door randomly to people that are visiting. So if you've put a sign or a notice, or you've got in touch with everybody who needs to be notified, you know, cold callers, officers, people that you know, like in your situation then, social services just turning up randomly.
Well,
we could know.
Private written appointments only.
There you go then. So you've legally and lawfully got. You're not saying that we've like a bit like the conditional acceptance. You're not saying yes, it's me, and you're not saying no, I don't want to deal with it. You're saying okay, you would like to, you know, converse with me, hold dialogue, and meet with me. Well, I don't just turn up to your offices and expect to get seen straight away. We have to wait and notify and get in queue. So the same is for our castle, our home, our private property and residence, where we domicile. Then we would say now's not a good time. I've done it myself a few times, and they have to respect it. Filming them is always good. Putting up a sign in your front window saying CCTV. Doesn't matter if you haven't got CCTV. Put a dog sticker there as well, saying I live here. Big Rottweiler, German Shepherd. You know, they don't know. CCTV.
I've got too many multis.
All right, but
Thank you.
I haven't got an answer for everything. We'll find out between us and through the communities, or maybe not communism communities, but from the. Someone's pulled me up on that. I'm speaking English, and you know, I'm not expert. But what words do you use instead of community? Fraternity. Yeah, that's nice. I like that. Yeah. Fraternity.
Brotherhood, sisterhood.
Society.
Brotherhood, sisterhood.
Brotherhood, yeah. The hoods are, again, like the ships, the hoods is interesting. Words with hoods, but no.
The word tribe means like a group of slaves, so you're not supposed to use the word tribe. Yeah, so.
It's got connotation.
Yeah. When you buy like the old English dictionary, you can have the two meanings of each word in.
1 minute, we'll let Marie finish, you know. Oh, yeah, you can ask questions. Ask it, yeah.
Well, Anne-Marie, that was very
No, I was saying, when you do a visa on these people, well, they got your data and all that. Yeah, so one should do that.
I've already done that. I've actually done that now, yeah, but I could do, yeah.
So if you got them on notice, yeah, and you put your liens in it, then you're alright then, innit? Because you already have them on notice, innit? And you do a D-sign it at the same time.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, then you're alright, because that's how it works, isn't it? You got them on notice. Yeah, there you go.
Has anybody heard of a SAR? It can be termed as DSAR, that's not a problem. I use that terminology myself, but has anybody heard of SAR, SAR? You two there, yeah? The Subject Access Request for Data. So you are the subject, we are the subject, well, we are persons, and so any corporation or company that's got a file on your person, you or that is making a claim, banks, debt collectors, social service, anything like that, and you can ask them, doctors even, anybody, for a subject access request, and then you get all of the data that they hold on you and that is associated with that claim, and then you can go through it and articulate that. We've done that a few times. I've done it with the DVLA, Julie Leonard, the Chief Executive Officer for the Driver Vehicle Licensing Agency, and she ignored me, and well, notice to agent is notice to principal. Notice to principal is notice to agent. So this is a terminology from trust and equity, but mostly trust law. So if you notice, we go direct to the organ grinders rather than the agent on the phone doesn't really know much, but even so, it's not our problem. Same as the police and people that we notice. There we've effectively noticed when we do it in that way, the principal. So I, out of courtesy, go to Julie Leonard and explain that the information request, subject access request for data and freedom of information has not been conducted in a timely fashion, about 30 days, and then another 7 days nudge. It's been 30 days, I've asked for this, I haven't got it. If you've done it, please forward it me on. If you haven't, crack on, another 7 days. After that, 30, and then the month, and then the other week, or 5, 7 days, then they haven't complied, then the Information Commissioner's Office, the ICO, regard that as a crime. They are to comply. Data, you're aware yourselves of the Data Protection Act, and previously the GDPR and things, they're regulated and managed to be held to account, and if they're not managed and held to account, then you are quite at liberty to go and see if the governing body, regulators governing body, the Information Commissioner's Office, will uphold your claim. And if they do, then that's great. You know, you're building up your case, your lien, if you like, and then they will give you an answer like what they did for me, and they said, sorry David, but since you last spoke to the DVLA, and since that last communication and you reporting the failure to us, it has been in excess of 12 weeks. So on this instance, we hear what you're saying, but we're not going to deal with your claim and your issue, and we bid you good day. And I'm like, well, I'm angry, I put a lot of work in, I know that I'm right, I have to have a moment, and I write an email, and I save it, and I come back to it a few hours later, because don't ever send it straight away. Work on it, think about it, ask people, you know, and don't just so much send it in haste and make it a thing of beauty. And what I did is I turned that anger and that negativity and that vexation into, well, hello there, thank you for your reply. I find this quite astounding that the industry regulator has got its hands tied in such red tape and bureaucracy as the fact that you've given me there, that you're not going to look into a crime, criminal offence. It's either a crime or it's an offence. Here's another oxymoronic statement, but it's paradoxical. All these areas you'll find that a crime is a crime and an offence is an offence, but they all say it's a criminal offence for non-compliance. But they recognise it's a criminal offence, and they recognise there's been non-compliance, and then you think, are these really independent governing bodies of regulators, or are they in the pocket, and are they there to put the barriers up and red tape and pass between each other and limit the damage that could potentially be done? So in the reply, it was like, I find it outstanding that the regulatory governing body of this area has got its hands tied in red tape, and bureaucracy, such as what you've given me in that answer of, you can't look into it because it's been longer than 12 weeks since I spoke to them and I've come to report it to you. Unfortunately, because of COVID, because of this, I laid it all down. I was quite clever with how I did it. There's been unforeseen circumstances, and I've had a lot to deal with, and I do believe that a crime is still a crime. There's no statute of limitations on such things. There may well be statute of limitations between us on other things. If you don't know about that, we'll get into the statute of limitations and all of that later on, but statute barred is what they term it as. And I will, when I launch private prosecutions and effect legal proceedings against this in a private manner on my own, I will make sure that the relevant parties are aware that you have got your hands tied in such a fashion, and that you can see a crime's occurred, but you're powerless to do anything because of a bit of small print. I wasn't aware of that. I didn't agree to that. I wasn't privy to those. If I was, then I probably wouldn't have bothered reporting them if you'd have put that as a fact on your homepage. So, yeah, I'm thankful for your response, and I'm going to deal with this in my own way, and I will ensure that I try to get your powers restored. Really, I was angry. You see what I did? I turned a negative thing and a bit of sarcasm and, oh, wow. And when I got to court, I'll be bringing this up. I'm going to get you to where you need to be, because this is just bollocks. And I didn't put that, I was polite and courteous, but it's bollocks at the end of the day. I got a reply 3 weeks later. We've looked at your case again. Here's what we're saying to you, and here's what we've sent to Julie Leonard. So it shows you that if you persevere, and then when the door gets slammed in your face, they're trying it on. The same as with the courts and with people that you may encounter that are looking for your legal, compliance, that you can forcibly, even with the officers and things, they don't know, that there's prescription cannabis being given out, and there's people on the street smoking cannabis for reasons of medical nature that have been prescribed it, and they're being detained and arrested because the police aren't even aware that doctors and the social systems and pharmacies are issuing medical cannabis. So again, it's down to us to be the regulators, and we can only depend on ourselves and through what's been spoke about today and what other people have done. Next questions. You can, yeah, email. I've just been asked if you can use email. Emails are great for communicating.
You use email?
What for, sorry?
When you correspond with these people?
Yeah, at ICO, I went to their website, I put the report in with their website, attached all the supporting documents for the claim, and then they emailed me back, and so then I was emailing the case handler for the ICO, had emailed me, so we was communicating. And again, it's recorded, it's digital, you can put a read receipt on there, you've got everything. In a court of law, you can prove that you've communicated and that,
But when you best with a wetting.
Yeah, you are best sometimes with a wet ink
No
going through.
emails or phone call. That's the safest
To
way.
communicate, you can do it as you see fit. There is no right or wrong way. But when you're doing legal actions and it's a communication, and you need to prove in accordance with the practice directions that you've communicated.
Now, so you want.
But in a legal, yeah, in other directions. So for general communication and chit chat and mitigating, you can, because I was dealing with the ICO, they emailed me. But ordinarily, I wrote a notice to the chief exec of the DVLA, and I sent it signed for, and I didn't email her. I sent it through in accordance with how it is normally done, as you're saying, through a handwritten is best. But I often type, and be careful of capitals and certain things. But just getting in touch with them and sending it through the post in a manner that is recorded, and there is proof of service, proof of the receipt, because on the Royal Mail site they'll deliver it and they'll put the signature on. So you collect that from the Royal Mail, the signature, you've got the receipt, you've got the little sticker what they give you for the tracking. Legal issues and lawful claims shouldn't be done via digital or email. The same as they can't serve us via email and digital. They have to serve you in a way that suits in accordance with the practice directions of the laws of England and Wales. But they see, the United Kingdom doesn't operate on the laws of England and Wales. They're two jurisdictions. So you've got the government of the United Kingdom, which is a corporation, and you've got the United Kingdom, which is a corporation, masquerading as a country. And it's in London, and it's paper-based only. So they use their rules and policies to suit internal.
Paperwork.
Yeah, I do. You're right. The paperwork is the best.
David, what's your views on postal mechanics?
That's a little bit ambiguous. I'll interpret that as a universal postal union rules and postal mechanics. So you recognise that we communicate using various means, but postal mechanics are underpinned by the post office, and the post office are governed, as far as I can see, by the Universal Postal Union, and that's international, so it doesn't matter where you are. You send a letter, it will get from here to Italy, Greece, anywhere that supports that postal system. And the postal system is how legal and lawful business is done. Seldom does somebody come up to you and say, you're served. You get a letter through the post, and that letter is of a legal or lawful, generally legal nature. And then if there is no proof of service, if the postman's popped it through, then perhaps the dog's eaten it. Perhaps it's the son or daughter's got hold of it and used it for scrap paper and put it in the bin. So you can't use this. If you ignore something and they come back to you and say you ignored it, you can say, I didn't get it. I didn't get that communication. Can you prove to me? When did you send it? How did you send it? Where, have you got proof of that? Oh, and also we've been known in genuine cases and sometimes non-genuine, because people are depressed, suicidal, upset, a mixture of emotions, and self-medicated on neurological toxins from the doctors. They ignore things, but they're innocent. They've not done anything wrong. They've not harmed anybody. So we've been known from time to time to let the person know, the soul know, that if you report to the Royal Mail that you believe you've got missing mail, they will investigate and check that everything is as it should be. They will give you a case reference number, and then Royal Mail, once you've reported that, will start checking. Most of the time, 99% of the time, people do this for reasons of genuineness, but there are ways to kind of reset the clock, where if you've received something, you've not opened it, time has passed, it's gone down the line, you're a single mum, we'll say a single dad, but generally single mum with offspring, sons and daughters, and you would be classed as vulnerable. And in order for us to stop things and reset them, we've been known to say, can you prove what you've sent? And if so, how did you send it and where is the proof? And if it's come through domestic mail, they can't prove that, so they have to reset again, because it's not in accordance with the practice directions, section 6 of the civil procedure rules. So if you don't know these little tricks and tips, then you'll find you've got a harder life. But if you have genuinely got missing mail, you get in touch with Royal Mail, they investigate, give you a case reference number, you then pass that on to alleged creditors and collection agents, and using the rules of the Postal Union in accordance with the practice directions. So my knowledge is pretty much limited on postal mechanics, but we've used it to our advantage and successfully. And if someone's going to send something of a legal nature through domestic mail and think that they're not in accordance with the directions, then you can say, I didn't receive that, or perhaps people do receive it, and then they ring them up and give them a round of, then you've just openly confirmed that you've, by your own admissions, getting in touch with them, received that, and then therefore you've started something which perhaps you didn't need to start in the first place. So I'll leave that there.
Thank you. Could you talk about the straw man claiming your trust?
Oh, the $64 million question. That's more
Somebody
technical.
asked me to ask you that.
Yeah, that's good. It's good. That's what we're here for. I haven't achieved equitable relief myself. So equitable relief, because we're in bankruptcy, I have a video of about 2 hours that I presented on YouTube regarding intrinsic value, monetary value, currency, gold standard removals, bankruptcy, all of the, and this is on an international level, going into the bills of exchange, going into freedom of information through the Bank of England and promissory notes, Lord Denning, promissory notes, cash, and then we look at surety for the public debt. Yes, there seems to be, when we make claim, we're obliged to provide them with, I hope you're getting the gist of this now, the facts of the matter. So if we go to a court of arbitration or anywhere to look for equitable relief, they're going to use what is known as plausible deniability and say, I don't know what you're on about. As far as I'm concerned, you're a loony and you need locking up. Okay, well, we're here for facts and not your opinion. You're medically qualified, I might listen to you, but you're here as an arbitrator, so you keep those opinions to yourself. let's stick to the facts. And it is my belief that, and you would go down and prove unequivocally that there are persons, nature of persons, types of persons. Somebody asked me a question down there about bank accounts, and if it's against their belief and religious beliefs, social, spiritual, religious, then could they open a bank account up, but without being a person? And allegedly they've seen a video on YouTube where someone's opened a bank account and said to the bank, it's against my belief and my religion to be a person, and I don't want you to discriminate against me for being a man, bringing in, you know, Equalities Acts and things, and I'd like to know if you've got alternative provisions to open a bank account without me providing things that are haram or against my religious, political, social beliefs, which are enshrined at law. And the bank then allegedly opened a bank account up for said person on YouTube. But the facts of the matter are, when we say that we believe there is a public trust set up and that we are considered the surety for this debt, because the removal of gold, bankruptcy, the gold standard, intrinsic value. There's a private banking cartel in London called the Bank of England, who are owned by private bankers who will just encapsulate this, and they print money and lend it to the government, and the government don't manage and print and regulate and circulate their own currency. They owe it to them. But if we've got no gold as a country and a nation and a state, then that money that they've printed that only comes from them needs to be paid back. We are the ones that pay it back via the taxes and deductions and things. So we have to recognise that there could possibly well be a public trust set up in our name, and that we are considered after the registration, and then with the General Registry Office and attaining the age of 18, and then using that birth certificate with the statement at the bottom saying this document is not to be used as evidence of identity, going out and using that and presenting that. It seems that we've gone into sin. We've taken the father's name in vain. On my person's birth certificate, my father's surname is in capitals. Lest ye be deceived, I'm taking the father's name in vain. Citizenship, registration. So David was born, say, the 1st of May 1978, but David's birth was registered. The event that transpired was on the 26th of May 1978. So then the birth certificate, the citizenship is created, and then you are civilly inactive from 0, born, until 18, and then at 18 you become legally and civilly active. So you're under the protection of the state, and you're under the parents look after the child, the property, the pair that rent. It's again language and words, and it's interesting how these things, like what you all have penny dropping moments when you hear certain things. So when legal title is given, or it looks like legal title is handed over to the General Registry Office, and we need to be sure of what we claim. We can't just go on wishes, beliefs, hopes and whims. We need to articulate things concisely, competently, coherently, matter of fact, case in point. I put it to you, if not, as well as other things that we've learned. So it is designed, this set of KV. I've covered this extensively. I've got an equity and trust workshop, an introduction to equity and trust workshop, because I've been doing it 5 years and I'm nowhere near all the way there. But so you need to know, you need to have the option to learn about these trusts that are set up. So the ministerial code, the government are governed by the ministerial code. Ministers are in the church. The ministerial code is managed out of house and it's international, and that's when, say, like I appoint somebody, you appoint somebody trustee of your state and government as you're going through the administrative correction process. They don't have a choice whether or not they are trustee, or you don't necessarily need to use the word trust to form a trust and to have a trust present. The word trust doesn't need to be explicitly used, and trustee does not need to be used for a valid trust to be formed. And a case law reference for that is Paul versus Constance 1970, where the judge viewed that there was a trust set up even though they didn't know they were even using trust technology. So we appoint people and they can't disclaim their duties, and we hold them to account and we enforce them to act upon under penalty of. So I believe from my research and from the bankruptcy and from the gold standards removal and from the public debt that we are paying debts with debts, and to evidence that we get the money out of the wallet, but it's not money, it's actually credit, and it's cash. It's a promissory note. It's not money, because money is backed by something of intrinsic value, which is gold or silver, but it isn't, because we haven't got any. So how do the government pay back the debt to the private bankers of the Bank of England, or even the Federal Reserve in America, whatever country you're in, your central bank needs paying back? The government is a corporation, the UK is a corporation. See John Harris, it's a straw man, it's an illusion. This is old news. We've moved on from that, and I'm sure many of you have. So we need to pick up where others have left off, and we need to prove everything we prove. So we can't pay a debt with a debt. We've got the freedom of information from the Bank of England. We've got the actual writing in small print on the banknotes, the cash, that we know as money, and it says, "I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of." My word is my bond when we speak of money and currency. And then we have to look at something which is a little bit more difficult, which is from 1302. Pope Boniface and the world's first testamentary trust of 1302, Unam Sanctum. And then from 1302 there were various other proclamations and edicts going through, and there is a 1530 something Seta KV issued, and there is a 1666 or Sesta KV issued, and there is a third one, a 1707. So you need to look at and be aware of all three of those, and the other proclamations, easy for me to say, proclamations and announcements from the Vatican, which is Eterni Regis, the creation of the crown, the triple crown, the papal crown, the paparazzi, the sea of paper rats. When I say the words are forwards and backwards, paparazzi, paper, sea of rats, sea of paper rats. It's currency, and you hold a banknote up to in the old days, when you hold a paper banknote up to the light, you'd see a watermark. Again, water, boats, Romans, currency, charges, ships, electricity, it's all intertwined. Charging a phone battery, cells, charge, discharge. It's incredible. So we have to tread a thin line, and before we go and poke the king, or the queen, but the king now as it is, we need to know that what we've got is validated, and it's 100% rather than us, going in as a clown or being portrayed as a clown and nothing getting done. We go in with honour, with substance, with form, with knowledge, with facts, and then we let the clowns take over the show. And if you don't always get what you want in a court, that doesn't mean that that's the final answer. You can then go and appeal and be as an appellant or repeal and look towards going to have your claim case heard at a different court of equity, a high court. You've heard of the Supreme Courts and things like this, the composure of that. So we need to look at getting the information, and the Vatican side of it and the Catholicism helps us tremendously. But we've also got the kings and the history and all of that to look at as well. We've had various people pop up saying, "I'm Greg Hallett, I'm the new king, you need to vote me in." And we've had John Winnower turn up and others across the span saying that they're the true bloodlines, and arguing about the monarchy themselves. We just need to stick to the facts of the matter and work our way through what we're claiming then, because they're not going to tell us, and they're going to take the stance of plausible deniability. So I'm looking for equitable relief, as are people that I'm associated with, and as many of you are. So when we go for that, it's easier said than done. There's an immense amount of work to look at from 1066 and then obviously 1302. There's hundreds of years spanning, and there's lots of things that have happened, in the annals of history. And then we look at finance and money, credit, cash, control. It's nice to get books that have got their equity and trust, and you find case law and references, because when you find case law, it's irrefutable. So Lord Denning was the one that said promissory notes are to be treated as cash. So if we have to articulate our claim in such a way that we should bear that in mind, that they're not just going to open the doors and let everybody through. I've been to London, to Fetterley, to the Courts of Chancery, and I've actually had a meeting with a Chancery Master regarding this. And when I got there from the East Midlands to London, and got into London City and attended the court of Chancery on Fetter Lane, they didn't want to see me and they sent me away. I spent the time, money, all of that, getting down there. I was excited, and they wouldn't see me, so they said that I could email the master because there was a problem or something, and that they would communicate with me that way. So I got the email from the master, and I say that's their title. We're all masters, and kings, princesses, princes in our own right, but the lords and ships and lords, yeah. And he said, I emailed the master, and I put down a paragraph of what I'm looking for. It took me 3 days to write it, and I said think about it and go back to it, speaking to friends and admins and some people that I'm close with, and I put down to the master what I'm looking for, and I mentioned all the key words, and his response was, what do you want, David? This court cannot give you. So he didn't say what you're on about, I don't know what you're on about, can you please explain, or anything like that. He actually did me a favour, but didn't really do me a favour, because he's like, yeah, I know what you want, wrong door, pal. Well, I know, when I responded, and no reply, no nothing. So there's a book there, the thingy of Freemasonry, The Lost Keys of Freemasonry by Manly P. Hall. I'm not into that at all, but for me to be able to do what I need to do, and for you to be able to do what you need to do, we need to go into dark places, and we need to encounter these courts and venues and businesses and police dressed in black, Black's Law Dictionary, judges dressed in black, a little bit set up like a Protestant court, if you like. Do you know what I mean? Churches, courts, black. So it's dark, it's macabre, but we don't need to be fearful of it. We need to treat it with the contempt that it duly deserves. And yeah, it's going to be in the private. It will be a court of arbitration, and it's got to be done with honour, and it's got to be done in such a way that you've presented everything, you've done the research, you give them the facts of the matter, as what I've tried to do today, albeit comprehensively and a little bit randomly, but hopefully coherently, and then you will present that claim to the correct court for a presiding judge to administer an arbitrator, and then it will be done with somebody at a Masonic level who's in the Knights or the Masons, and you're all aware of them, aren't you? So it's a fact of life.
Yeah, I suppose to beat the beast, sometimes you must become the beast. You must know how the beast works to beat him.
That's it. Know your foe.
I think you've been answering my question, but my job as a title, which was I don't know, assimilated by the government and statutes about 20 years ago, and a friend of mine recently got thrown off the register of osteopath. I'm an osteopath. We practiced under common law until about 1999. I'm not quite sure actually which year it was we actually lost that common law status. But now we're under statute law, they seem to own us. And it's about protecting the public from us. That's what the register, the General Council Register of Osteopaths is about. But my friend, she's got a better qualification than I have. She's got a degree. I've got a degree, and she's been thrown off the register because she didn't answer a few emails because she was away in France at her mother's funeral or whatever. And I guess, generally speaking, you've just been answering my questions. It's going to be a bit of a battle to get our common law status back, so they can't own our title. It would seem that the government own our title and that.
Well, those that create it own it it's not so much a maxim, but it's known as it's like a maxim at law. It's an established fact. Those that create something own it. You could apportion that to the birth certificate. Those that create own it. In equity, in the propositions of equity, there's 20 of them. First in time is first in line. As we are born first, certificate of live birth allegedly is done, Guthrie card, prick, heel, etc. And then weeks, months later, registration, general registry office, bondsman, and the event that takes place there. You would argue that certificate and all liabilities to do with that certificate, public, government, legal person, are owned by the people that own it. The liabilities come with those that own it, those that create it own it. We are just holders of it, like money, cash. We hold it. We're holders in due course, if you like. So in-house it's a little bit sticky. I understand and appreciate where you're coming from, and common law, it's going through a bit of a revival at the moment. We're going through, yeah, I would say a disclosure of where we're at, and we're all helping each other, as I am today, as Pete is, as the organisers and owners are of this and other groups. We're slowly all getting onto the same page, but legislative arms of law, common law, that's your mandated, legislation, government legislation. So Commerce UK, aside from the common laws of England and Wales, so we've probably got we're mitigating circumstances there, being on holiday, and it's something that needs to be fought and argued, doesn't it? And good luck to you. Yeah.
Surely, wouldn't you just, not just say, you're a body, you set up your own private members association.
I think there's a group of people who do what I do, who call themselves something else, and they're setting up a private members association.
Yeah, that's what we do. That's the way to go.
Sorry to go.
I'm not sure this is really a question for you, David, but this is a recent experience that I've had with the police. I'm really looking for your advice. I've got a court sheet to attend court on the 19th of December for the charges of willfully obstructing a police constable in his duty and not abiding by road traffic signs that are positioned lawfully in the road, or however they describe it. And what I was arrested for was for basically not providing details. I was pulled over by two police officers after not giving way to them on a mini roundabout, and I asked him if I was obliged to give details, and it was all a bit heated.
Yeah.
I asked him if he's working under his oath 3 times. He ignored me all 3 times. Spoke to his sergeant, and then come back and basically just took the keys out of the car and just pulled me out of the car and arrested me. And this was all because I didn't give any details. I didn't say a word in the journey to the police station. I was put in the glass screen where the 2 bobbies, basically they can't lock the door, so they just stand there and watch you. The sergeant's come through. I've explained to him that I haven't at any point understood any of his officers this evening. I hold supreme authority over myself, and I will not be providing any details. In which he slammed the door on me, and he said he can stay in there all night. We've gone to the custody desk, and I'm getting checked in. The woman's wondering what she puts me down as, because there is no detail.
Charge, there's no charge. I'm sorry.
So, and then I've eventually gone through to the cell, and the sergeant's come back again. He's come in with his phone, and he's found an old picture of me on Facebook and said, "This is you." They know exactly who I am through the insurance that they've picked up on their system.
Yeah.
So they've got a full name, and they know that is me, or supposedly me. But what affirmed to me was that they were just trying to get me to identify with something that I'm not, which is what I stuck with. I never said that was me. I told them I'm not a person, and all the rest of it. And then they've locked the cell, and they said they're going to go and speak to my mum, which is who...
Oh wow, we're telling your mum?
So,
Shit!
I never looked at it that way.
Is this from you? Oh, telling your mum. I'm telling my dad. I'll get my dad. Sorry, carry on.
So the address on my insurance policy is at my mum's address, which I don't actually live there. I've got no fixed abode technically. So they've gone to see my mum. He's come back after seeing my mum, and he's come through. He's like, "Look, you seem like a nice lad." He said, "I tell you what, hear me out. This is what we'll do." He says, "One of his officers will pick a charity. You can donate said figure to the charity.
Yeah.
Just give us your details in exchange, and we'll let you straight out."
A contract was formed, a verbal contract or a trust. Yeah, go
So
on.
I've obviously denied, and in fact I actually laughed at him and said, "I cannot believe the extent of what you're doing to get me to associate with a name, with a person that I am not. And
Entrapment, eh? And certain things come to mind now, don't they? Carry on,
yes,
sorry.
so there's that.
Harassment.
And the night has gone on, I've gone to the interview, I've not really said much, I've said, you know, you can't contract me because I won't accept that I'm a person, legal fiction, all the rest of it. And then I've got back to the cell and saying, look, we'll see what we can do to get you out of here. And they're all being nice to me at this stage, after they have played bad cop, now they're all playing good cop. And we've gone through back to the custody desk and they've got a charge sheet for me with these charges that I've said are on there. And I've said that the name is wrong, it's in all caps and this, that and the other. I said change the case sensitivity on the name and I might accept it. And they said the system cannot change case sensitivity except to all caps. I've never once identified myself with the person, I've not associated with the person. They've had no number, no address, nothing from there, apart from the fact, the name that's on the insurance policy, which is what they have, which is what they've put the charge sheet, that's the name on the charge sheet, is the person that's insured on the vehicle, if you like. And then I've said, I'm not accepting that is me, I'm not accepting the charge sheet, and I nearly went back in the cell, but the sergeant told me that he'd send me to court the following day, straight from the police cell.
Well, remanded on, not bailed, remanded, sent off,
which I thought that was, he couldn't do that, and in the back of my head is Pete going, he's bluffing. And in the end, I took the charge sheet, but before that, I said that he was blackmailing me by sending me straight to court. And I said, at no point have I accepted that I am this person, but I took the piece of paper. So, as far as I'm aware, I have now entered into joinder with the police by taking the paper.
Under duress, I suppose, under protest. It's under protest, not duress. Well, duress, but be careful about saying duress, because, Magna Carta, sword, do this or else.
I did say that earlier.
It's protest, under protest, or even in this case, probably duress under fear and threats of. So, go on.
So there is that. But now I've got in the position where I took the charge sheet. I'm annoyed because I feel like I've let them win when I should have probably got back in the cell, did my extra 16 hours, and what can they do if I sat in the cell for 24 hours, gave no details? What can they actually do? Because they can only hold me for 24 hours.
That's it, they need to build the case, the point, don't they? The charges they haven't. Is it illegal or unlawful or against any, any code of practice if somebody doesn't give way for a policeman on the road or roundabout? If they weren't with their sirens on and lights, and you went and it wasn't safe to stop, and you could get in and do it safely. Sounds like they got a bit pissed off with you. How dare he? Do they know who I am? Right, we'll have him. Come on, let's go. And they've made an example of you. Yes.
And when I first got there, the initial feeling that I had was with this sergeant was who's going to break first. That was what feeling I got from him. But what I'm asking you is your advice for me attending court is based on what I've said. That's my question, is what is your advice?
All right then, let's back it up a bit then. So there needs to be, what charge is it that you're guilty of for them to arrest and detain? So we need to go right back to the beginning. What law have I broken? And can you point it out to me? And am I obliged to? Am I under arrest? I don't answer questions. They've got to prove the claim, otherwise there is no case. And we also need to remember the travellers in society and the fact that, known as gypsies previously, but we'll say the travelling family that we have, they don't have any paperwork registration or anything, and I've personally known firsthand the police are unable to interface with them because they're not registered at birth. They're free as, I aspire to be them. My ethnicity is traveller, even though I'm not strictly a traveller, caravan, van, living in van life, but I travel around and my ethnicity would be classified as traveller. So when people are sat there on the recording listening back and going, you lot, you just think, you sovereigns think you don't have to follow the law. Well, it's like, whoa, when you say law, what law do you speak of? And let's just slow it down. And we are following the law. We have a sacred contract to follow. We follow common law, and that's not a problem for us. But when it comes into joining the commercial law and things and implementing, who's the man making the claim? Who's the claimant here? That's another good one. I'd like to know who the man is. Where's the victim?
I did actually say that
you know,
to the
who is the
officer when he
victim
pulled me
here?
over.
Oh,
I did
yeah.
say that to him.
Well, Laura,
Where's the
okay.
victim?
Yeah, good question. I don't answer questions. I'd like to know. Again?
Corpus delicti.
Corpus delicti from beer at the back. Anybody know what that means? Would you like to elaborate on that?
Yeah.
Go on, pass the mic. Wait.
Just the injured party. Yeah.
No, corpus delicti, injured party, Latin. That's what you want to know, because if a crime's been committed, there'll be an injured party. If there's no injured party, there's no crime.
Yeah, victim, injured party. See, the Latin does. I'm glad that it's. We're all au fait with this. Your question: should I attend court for this controversy? We have been known. I've been known. I did it with council tax many years ago. When I was getting into this 7 years ago, I sent to the courts, alleged courts, the business venue, the magistrates. No contract, no consent. I'm not saying this is the right way. Please don't take this as advice. This was me at the beginning of the acceptance contract, adhesion contract, boilerplate contract area of laws. And I know that you can, as long as you see, when you send something, what I'm about to say is send notices and representation to the court, but make sure you can prove that they've received it. Like, you can turn up and take a court bundle with you and manage it that way, or you can not turn up for civil administrative matters. It's your choice, but you can send paperwork in. You can prove you've sent the paperwork in, as I've explained and touched on, and to conform with Part 6 of the CPR, you've got your proof of service, and people send in bundles, paperwork, affidavits, etc. to the court. You've got the paperwork there, and you let the paperwork do the work for you as an officer in the court, if you like. So it might sound a bit far-fetched, but that's how this is all running. It's administrative. There's no victim. There's no contract. I don't say no. Wait. What did I say? No comment. I don't say no comment if ever I'm in that situation. I say no contract, no consent, because no comment is classed as a deferred answer. And if you've deferred the answer, it's still technically an answer, so they can proceed onwards with their. It depends how you've handled it, but I would try getting in touch with the court and in relation to these claims and matters. Let me draw you back to when I talked to you about Oxford and discharging the charges. The next day, Thomas gets in touch and says the Oxford Gazette has had printed in it that the magistrates have charged me, my driver, and given me points. But we've got it on video, and I can give you testamentary first-hand knowledge on my soul that what I tell you is correct and true. The charges were discharged. But the House, so the Ministry of Justice, somebody, the magistrates, the Ministry of Justice, got in touch and through their usual channels and have marked down that there's been a charge points, and so even when you win and you're right, they're very loath to put into the paper that Thomas such and such, I've got to be careful, it's private, but a man known as Thomas discharged the charges and put the truth there. They actually printed that there was a successful, conviction when there wasn't. So they're not honourable, they're not fair, they don't tell the truth. I'm not saying this about everybody or all courts, but you'll find that, you perhaps maybe want to look at this in an administrative manner, that you're confused. Maybe you could make up an excuse as to be excused from the proceedings there today for the administrative hearings and the administration of justice, and you can present to them everything and let them get back in touch with you. Send it so it can be received.
Well, yeah, that's one of the things. They've got no number, no address. All they have is a legal fiction on a piece of paper, and I took the paper, so there's no way they can get in touch with me. But the officers said that they would send out a warrant for my arrest should I not attend the court. So
yeah, they threaten that, like Pete told you there. There's an element of bluffing, fear, intimidation. When you look at your rights and what you've got for you there, and what they've got. I think that if this ended up in front of magistrates and you was even to attend and appear, spirits appear, magicians make things appear. When we talk of spelling and magic and words and stuff, appear. Summons, we summons a spirit. What is a summons? Look at the word summons, get into it, research it. Don't take my word for it, I've done this extensively. It's an invitation. It's not mandatory, it's not compulsory, it's summons. You know what I mean? So a warrant for your arrest perhaps they'd have to drag me there kicking and screaming. I don't know, it's your call to make, but I try to keep clean hands and I try to stay in honour. And I'd like full disclosure. CPR 3116, full disclosure before proceedings. I'm like Jeopardy, Rain Man, Dustin Hoffman sometimes. And a lot of the people I know are like this with the articulation and ability to recall stupid things from which are foreign to us, but they will work in our defence. Perhaps, I think, double check, full disclosure before proceedings would be CPR 3116, but if it's not, you'll find the civil procedure rules, practice directions for that. And I'd have fun with it, I suppose, a little bit, maybe, because it's not serious, there's no law broken. They might say contravention of the road. What they'll do is they'll be that angry about you cutting them up and being so blasé to think that you own the road. Yeah, which in fact we do, they just manage it. They might say that they'll pin it on the areas of the Road Traffic Management Act 163, 164 or 165, somewhere in there. So, you know, is a failure to give details, but if you're not obliged and you was intimidated and not sure of what was happening, then as far as you're concerned, you're innocent and you wasn't obliged. You've done no wrong. You broke no law. There is no harm, injury, or damage. Common law has not been breached, and you take it down that road. So I'd be tempted to send in paperwork in the first instance and play it out and send in the evidences and make notes. When this video is finished recording, I will put it together and edit it, and I'll put it on my Indiglo channel. So those that are scribbling and making notes, I'll send the link to Gav, Pete, is it Georgina, yeah, as well. So you'll get the topics of the material that we're talking about. It'll be on my Indiglo YouTube channel. I'm losing my voice. There's no right and wrong way to handle things. It's how you seem best and what levels of fear and intimidation you're under and how much of an implication it's got on you, and how you, like I said, each case is judged solely and individually on its own merits and its particulars surrounding that. So for you, it's going to be different to anybody else. We're all in different circumstances.
About the car insurance in that respect.
Insurance,
If
yeah.
they can't tie you to that address, does that not invalidate your car insurance?
It's got nothing to do with them, as far as I could figure out. They got the name off the insurance. They wasn't even bothered about what my address was on the insurance or whatever. They just wanted me to accept that I was this person.
They need to identify the driver. Yeah, you're right. They would run the plates on the checks and so forth, and they'd run the MOT, tax, insurance. It should be assured. It should be assured, not insured. It should be assurance. We get insurance. Again, it goes into the Bible a little bit there, where protection and assurances and sins paid for and etc. But if you've got a wallet or any identification on you, then they'd normally use that, wouldn't they? Or thumbprints from previous.
They didn't even ask him for his
Driving
driving licence.
driving licence. So when they searched
What?
when they searched me, when they cuffed me, I had tobacco, which was mine and Georgie's, so I was like, give all that to Georgia whilst I'm in the cuffs, and then he got my wallet out and said, give that to Georgia.
Brilliant, that's good then.
I went
That's
into the police
fantastic.
station, I had nothing. I didn't have
Brilliant.
anything, all I had was my belt and whatever
You've
else.
no need to give them a person's name or anything
No,
then,
I
just
had
do what you're
nothing.
going to do and let me out when you let me out.
Well,
I'm not signing now.
To be honest with you, as flustered as we was with the altercation, because for me, the whole awakening process is very new since the start of COVID. Lockdown, I believed it all at the start, and I slowly woke up, and then we found Pete, Sovereign Project, and what Pete gave me ages ago was the mindset, and it's like, when you know, and I'm like, I know, but what I can't back it up with is all the information, but I know that there's something going on, it's way beyond me, whether there is a God or whatever there is, I don't know, but what I do know is what Pete's taught me, is the mindset, and it's like, you hold your authority, nobody else, and that's it, and that's all I know, and I've now started the course this time round, and I vowed to be there for every session, and then when I got arrested, it was actually on the way here, so I have actually missed one session. but that's where I'm at now, is that I want to get deep into this stuff and I want to fully understand what the things mean. It's all right me spouting my mouth off to the police and say getting into some form of altercation that I can't deal with is because I don't fully understand what I'm saying. But yeah, that's...
Another relevant point to mention then would be the Pelian Code of Policing, the nickname that we have for police, constables and officers. You mentioned constables in that tale at the beginning and then they turn to officers, but the Pelian Code of Policing, Sir Robert Peel. Yeah, there he is. So that's Robert, what's short nickname for Robert? Bobby. So bobbies are called bobbies on the beat. I know they're called coppers and other slang slur words as well. I'm not here to badmouth officers because I've met some good ones and some good judges. You know, I'm not, and I don't think your organisation and you all here today appreciate there are good ones and bad ones. You know, so the Pelian Code of Policing, research that. So Robert Peel's the policing reforms and what police are supposed to do to conduct, what constables are supposed to do to conduct themselves in a just, right and proper, orderly fashion as well. That holds them to account. We look at PACE, police and criminal evidence, so you need to have a look and see about that, as well as the 3116 disclosure before proceedings. Again, we conditionally accept there are claims and controversies there, so we conditionally accept them, and then remember what I said, clean hands on it, and we'd like to go through a few of the particulars of the case management file, and things like this, freedom of information, the subject access request, try not to vexate it and let a little thing blow up into a big thing. I'm not saying you would, but it's easily done, so control it, keep calm as you've done there. You have a choice, you made your choice, and I can commend you for that. It's great to test these little things out as well. It gives you a little bit of knowledge and you get rid of the fear.
That was exactly my point, was I could have just given them the details, and I dare say they would have just let me go on my way. I got that impression from them, but it was the point of, I'm going to try it out, it's a real little misdemeanor.
Yeah.
At worst, if I mess it all up, I might get some points or whatever, but do you know what I mean? You've got to be in it, you've got to try it, ain't you?
I'm glad you've said that, because there are people that come along that aren't prepared to do any time or to be detained, so you well said. So it's an individual choice, and if you aren't prepared to be detained and taken away against your will and put somewhere, then don't play. I'm not saying any of you would be like this, but at YouTube, the people, places where I go, and the years that I've been talking, people have come back to me and said, Dave, I'm not happy. I did what you said. I still got taken down. This, that, the other. I'm like, well, freedom comes at a price, pal.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're not prepared to have a little bit of give and take, then you shouldn't have argued it.
And I will
be
say,
prepared for that.
at no point at any stage that I've been listening to whoever it might be, Pete and all the rest of them, nobody's at one point said it's some kind of magic shield and you're going to get away with everything. No one's ever said that. No one said that at any point. And it's, do you know what I mean? If I've got to find out that this is true, and what the whole process to me confirmed whether it wasn't that what people are saying is not true, it confirmed that there is something there that is not right. That's all I can say from the whole experience, is that there is something that's not right within that system. Whether it's what everybody is saying, I don't know, but there is something wrong in the way that they were so desperate to get me to associate with something.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's not like they had a name, they knew exactly who I was, they even went to my mum's house, so do you know what I mean? They know who I am.
Yeah, I said to them, my name's David, and he said, can I have your full name? Because my full name is David, I am called David. Are you the driver? I'm sat behind the steering wheel. I'm like, well, if you've asked me that question, there must be a choice. Are you the driver? There's no one else in the iron horse, as I call it, the pleasure craft. So they stopped me, they know I'm propelling it, but they ask you the question, are you the driver? Well, no, here is my driver. I'm travelling, I'm not commercial. Are you okay? I'm like, well, are you legally trained? Do you know what language you speak? My mum called me David. Would you like the details of my driver and my person? When I say about commingling the jurisdictions and commingling, this is the part of the estate administration, and to become properly in the private, self-governing, sovereign, Lord of Lords, getting into the kingdom of heaven, dying and being reborn, and entering, these mysticism teachings and things that we've, these allegories that are out there. This is part of what we need to do to move from the public, to be you in the public trust, to be co-trustee or co-beneficiary, considered to be. It's what's called an implied trust. So it's implied, constructed, it's unconscionable behaviour. Like Santos Bonacci, and I spoke to him and says, when you put down the Vatican owns your soul, well, maybe they don't, maybe I own it, maybe the Vatican took it and protected it because the kings were not listening and chopping heads off the archbishops and that. I don't know, I wasn't there hundreds of years ago. It's easy for us to follow into, with all due respect, I held him on, and I still respect him, and I've moved him down to the level where we all are, but I did say, I come with Jesus as Christ. Would that not be more of a KJV type exit? And he said, yes, David. These are the Vatican and the systems, the papal crown at the top, and you've got the crown of the kings and the queens and so forth, and then we've got the crown of London. So when you serve the crown, which crown do you serve? We've got our crowns that Mum gives us when we're crowning and born. So there's all these types of jurisdictions and layers, and ultimately it's revenue collection and generation. When they could be out there catching paedophiles and shit like this, couldn't they? Simple.
Thank you very much.
Well, you're welcome, thank you.
Any more questions? Sorry, I've got a random question based on what you just said. When you buy insurance, doesn't it give you the option for social, domestic and pleasure, and then social, domestic pleasure and a place of work or something? So if you just use social, domestic and pleasure, doesn't that mean that you're not working, so therefore you're not a driver? And you're not entering into commerce?
You say that, but then you look at the word driver, it comes from drover, flock, shepherd, sheep, flock, drover, driver. So by us having a driver, all right, then we've got driving licenses, we've signed paperwork, but it was unknown to us at the time that we was entering into contracts which were unbeknown to us. So therefore it's null and void. Full disclosure was not given, equal exchange and so forth, but they get round it by us having the instrument, the driver. When we say implement the instrumentation, birth certificate, person, equitable, equitable instrument, and the driving license is another instrument that you can present. And I'm not a driver, I'm not paid by the government, I'm not working in government, I'm not paid to drive, I'm privately travelling, and I've got these, like I have on my iron horse, because I'm not prepared to be taken away, detained and absconded. I can get insurance reasonably cheap, road tax, again, I don't like paying that. I'm looking to work with and move from, but I'm happy.
But you not think sometimes it's
but I'm not a driver.
You have to weigh off the inconvenience against.
Exactly, picky battles. It's called picking your battles.
I've got 2 children, and I'm like, well, if it's winter and it's like snowing or something, you know what I mean? For the sake of 100 quid, then I'm going to have to pay £1,000 or whatever it is to get my car back. Is it worth, you know what I mean? Like, basically not paying your road tax doesn't make you like the saviour of humanity. You know what I mean? So it's about kind of, I think it's more important to be focused on waking, or whatever phrase you want to use, awakening people up. And also, I don't think there's anything wrong with kind of dipping your toe into the legal world, as long as you've got control. So, when it benefits you, there's nothing wrong with that. So,
thank you. Well, I think we'll call it there so everyone can get warmed up. That's been brilliant, David. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you all. Well done. Have you enjoyed it? Would you like me to come back? Are we going to work together? Has it been? Yeah. Oh, bless. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mikey, for doing the sound. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Has anyone? Have you got these one or two books?
Don't know. I don't know how many was in the bottle.
Okay. So we'll put David's site on our website, so we'll put his on his website, and we'll put the call selling. Thanks, everyone. Yes, there's a box up there.
Oh, bless you. Thank you all.
I'll take a picture of that.
Nice one, mate.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Coming from common knowledge or something that's like
I've watched some of his videos, I don't believe it.
Thank you for
that one again. I'm not
Right, amazing.
Yeah, feel free, guys. Yeah, all good, yeah. Are the witnesses credible? Yeah.
We'll get the balance right.
But I'm giving you 15 years worth all in, as much as I can. We put it in the website, put it on the video, and then we got admins, chat groups, Facebook.
Oh, you follow me? I looked on the video. I must have seen one of your videos.
Yeah.
I've been a member of your site for 20 years. Your video catalogue is unbelievable.
Yeah, that's right. Got membership on YouTube as well, videos up there. About time to join.
There's too many active now.
We're investigating now to see it, and then we're going to Good man, that's the way forward, private trust. I'll get you all a copy as soon as it's finished and rendered, yeah? Everyone's going. Thank you.